All right, everybody. Welcome to FDTC Q&A from Demo to Close Q&A. I get a bunch of questions over the years, especially in the last 12 months since I launched my business, FDTC, through LinkedIn comments, LinkedIn DMs, Twitter, TikTok DMs, and obviously my community and my courses. And so I figured, let me do this. Maybe I'll try to do this once a month. We'll see, where I'll take a question that someone asked me, make a video on it, upload it, and then share it into my newsletter as well. So today we're going to cover only one question. I want to keep this short and sweet. And it's a question that I recently got. And it's somebody asked me, More, how do you sell against the competition? Do you explain differentiators? Do you not talk about the competition? So I'm going to give you 6 things I'd recommend doing. You can do all 6 if you'd like and if you're able to, or you can sort of pick and choose which one you want to do. But let's start with number 1. Number 1, when I was an account executive and a VP of sales where I was still doing demos, and I was talking about the competition, whether the prospect brought it up or I brought it up, I always gave credit when credit is due, which means if the prospect asked me about a competitor product, I would tell them what I like about the competitor product. I wouldn't default to putting them down. I wouldn't say, oh no, well, you won't be happy there. I'll say, we have some customers that were comparing us to them and they were really satisfied with that product because that customer was looking for a very specific functionality that the competitor does really, really well. But based on our call right now, prospect, it sounds like what's most important to you is this functionality, where in that case, this is what we do really well. So I'm giving credit where credit is due, but I'm saying it in a way where I know potentially that what the prospect is looking for is more superior with our product. So this shows the prospect that I was being honest and I'm secure about my solution. Whenever someone talks positively about competition or about somebody else, it really shows a level of confidence and self-assurance and self-confidence. Whenever someone's defaulting to, oh, that person's really bad, or you shouldn't go there, they're clearly insecure about that. So give credit where credit is due, whether the prospect is asking about the competitor or you decide to bring it up. Because I'm going to answer those 2 questions. The first question was, do you explain differentiators and do you talk about the competition or not talk about it? So depending on the situation, I may talk about it first, or in this particular example, the first answer that I'm giving you, give credit where credit is due. I will do that when the prospect is asking about the competition. That's when I'll talk about the positive things that I like about the competitor. The second thing that I'd recommend is, and that I've done, is I don't necessarily give my opinion about my product's differentiators. That's too biased. I'm a salesperson selling my product, and I'm going to tell the prospect, well, yeah, I know as you're looking at the competitor, what we do really well is blah, 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 blah. It's too biased. Obviously, I'm going to shine a light on our product. What I'd rather do and what I've done and what I'd recommend to do is never give your opinion about what makes you different than the competition. Instead, use sort of third-party testimonials to do that. For example, instead of saying, well, what I think is really different about us and the competitor is that we're a lot easier to use. I wouldn't say that. I would use other people's opinion. For example, well, I'd be really biased if I told you what we're really good at and what the competitor is not good at. So I'll just tell you what our customers have told us based on their comparison of the competitor, whatever the competitor is, ABC company, and us. Based on what they've been telling us, they find that our solution is a lot easier to use and more intuitive. So I'm using other people's opinions to answer the question about competitive differentiators. All right, that's really important. The third thing that I'd recommend is I bring up the prospect's concerns, their FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, before they bring it up. A lot of times you're on a sales call or a demo, and at the end of the demo, that's the only time you really ask the prospect for feedback, and then they start bringing up potential concerns that they have. They may not even bring it up. They may say, okay, great, I got to go talk to my team. But in reality, they're thinking about all these concerns that they have about what they've seen. So if you ever watch the movie 8 Mile, and I talk about this in my university, in 8 Mile with Eminem, there's a last rap battle scene. And in that last rap battle scene, they flip a coin and Eminem goes first. And instead of just like dissing the competitor, the person in front of him, he's actually dissing himself. Eminem was dissing himself, talking crap about himself. He was talking about all the objections, the concerns that his opponent would have brought up when they went up, if they when they would have gone up next. So and I talked about this a lot on LinkedIn in the past few years. And so I love that scene from the movie because when it was his opponent's turn to freestyle and battle against Eminem, he had nothing to say. He had nothing bad to say because Eminem said all the bad things already about himself. And so why am I saying this is because your prospect may be thinking that you're more expensive, right? And you could be against your competitor, and they're evaluating a competitor that's cheaper than you. You're more expensive. That could be a FUD, a fear, uncertainty, and doubt in your prospect's mind. And they may not bring it up, or they may bring it up. Regardless of whether they bring it up or not, you want to proactively bring it up, just like Eminem brought up the concern. So you'd say something like, hey, I know you're evaluating XYZ company, and if you were to look at price alone, you would see that we're more of a premium price point. And I know you're thinking that it's a big difference than what you're currently paying with XYZ company. So I'm bringing up the concern before they bring it up. The reason why you want to do that is because it's just you show confidence. You show that you're confident that about a potential objection. A lot of salespeople pretend that there's nothing wrong with their system or there's no concerns, everything's perfect. That's stupid. Show them what the prospect is concerned about. The second thing the reason why you're doing that is because you're essentially taking your prospect's thoughts and vocalizing it. So the prospect says, yes, they know what I'm thinking. They know how I feel. They feel validated. So it's really important to do that. So, hey, Moore, how do you compare against this company? Well, if you're looking at us from a point of price alone, then the competition or ABC company is a lot cheaper than our plan. And I know that's what you're thinking, that, hey, we have a pretty split price difference here. But if price is the most important thing for you, then I'd say go to the competition. That's a level of confidence. Okay. So third thing, again, bring up the concern, the objections before your prospect brings it up. It's a lot easier if you know who they're evaluating. They're evaluating a particular competitor because you can bring it up in advance. Number 4. This is hard to do and it takes time, but I don't recommend that you start differentiating yourself from the competition based on just feature and product. Because what happens is it becomes a sort of cat and mouse game, like a tit for tat. Competitor has this feature, you do it this way. It's harder to do it that way because you end up just being you're comparing your product against just the features, which means you end up comparing against price also. Remember, people buy from people they like and they trust. So one of the ways you can differentiate yourself from the competition that has nothing to do with the features or the product is by differentiating yourself, not just the product, but yourself, you. Meaning, get them to like you, get them to connect with you, get them to laugh with you, get them to talk about something personal about their life. That comes from rapport building. That comes from turning on the webcam. That comes from using your right tone of voice, your tonality, so you can connect with the person. It's a lot easier to do business with people that you trust and like. And you can overlook certain features if it's not a deal breaker based on the relationship you have with the person. So that's another one. That's really, really important. I don't think salespeople are doing this enough. Number 5, SPF, solve problems fast. Show them how you can solve their problem faster. So if you want to differentiate yourself from the competition, and let's say they're looking at a particular problem that they're trying to solve, and you happen to know how the competitor does it because you had a customer that was using the competitor, but now they use your software, use that as a way to show value and differentiator from you and the competition. So for example, you'd say something like, hey, prospect, you mentioned you had this particular problem around deal conversion rate. And I know you're looking at XYZ competitor. We had a customer that was also using that solution that you're evaluating right now. They were using it for 3 years. Now they moved over to us. Let me just show you how we were able to solve their problem in a faster period of time than the competition. And then you bring it up, and you should have like a case study or a testimonial or some sort of before and after sort of proof of concept from the customer. That's why it's important you have some sort of enablement around case studies and testimonials. Don't show them the entire case study, the whole paragraph. Just show them like maybe like the before and after stat if you have something like that. All right. So solve problem fast. And then number 6, the final one is sell for me, meaning you want the prospect to sell for you versus you selling for them. Ask your prospects questions so that they can tell you why they think your solution is better than the competition. A lot of times, by the way, the prospect may bring up, hey, how are you different than the competition at the end of your sales call, at the end of your demo. So if that happens, hey, at the end of the demo, hey, AE, tell me how you're different than the competition. What you could say something is, you could say something like this. Hey, I mean, out of curiosity, prospect, based on what you see, before I tell you how we're different, I'm just curious, based on what you've seen today, and I know you've evaluated XYZ company, based on what you've seen, how do you feel like we're different? And then the prospect will start telling you how they think you're different. And they end up selling you on why you're different and better. And then you can add your 2 cents. But it's important because if they ask you, hey, how are you different than the competitor? And then you're like, well, you tell me, how do you think we're different? That's annoying from a prospect point of view. But if you answer saying like, I'm going to tell you, but I'm curious, before I tell you, out of curiosity, based on what you've seen right now, what do you think is different than how you've evaluated the competition or whatever it is, the competitor name that they brought up? Notice my tonality also, out of curiosity. I have a curious tone of voice. And then I'm mentioning that I'm gonna tell them the answer, what I think, but I first want to get their opinion. If you do these 6 things correctly, again, you can do all 6 at a time if you do it properly, or you can mix and match. But this will allow you to stand out against competition, and you'll probably win more deals.